life feels like one long go signal, our bodies start sending quiet warnings that it's too much. In this episode, it shares how to recognize early signs of stress and simple science backed ways to help our body reset so you can show up calmer and more connected for the people you love. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. Today we have a special guest, Kelli O'Rourke Wall, here visiting us. So we're excited to have you on the show today, Kelli. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let me give you a little bit of background into Kelli. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist based in Napa, California, and her work centers on helping people who feel stuck emotionally, spiritually, or relationally find their way back to peace. So Kelli draws on Team CBT, DBT, and trauma-informed care to teach clients how to calm their bodies, manage their thoughts, and rebuild confidence. So really excited to just pick your brain and hear a little bit more of you and how you help people. So thanks again.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
So you got into this therapist space. You've been doing it for about how long?
About 10 years now.
Okay. And can you tell us what it is that you love the most about it and a little bit about your journey getting there?
I started out just always really been interested in like psychology and stuff. I have an AA in behavioral sciences, and I was just always really interested in how we work and relate. But I ended up going through a pretty tough time with infertility and anxiety, and just out of my own need, really searching for things that would help me. My church ended up starting a 12-step program for people with hurts, habits, and hangups. It's called Celebrate Recovery. And I was like, okay, I got all those. Maybe this will be helpful for me. And I just really I loved it. It was so helpful for me to heal in community. It was a really big part of my journey. And also just seeing the life change of the people who were in the program, like coming in just weary and beaten down by stuff and hopeless, and then leaving just really changed. And it was so inspiring to me. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be a part of. And so I made a plan to leave my job, and I was working in tech at the time, and I'm like done with computers and staring at a computer all day. I want to be with people. And so, yeah, I went back to school, and here I am. And it's amazing to be part of people's transformation.
It absolutely is very rewarding in that way, in ways that maybe you weren't able to do before that. I love hearing about people's journeys. But one of the topics that we wanted to discuss today, as we were talking back and forth about this, is calming the body's stress response. This is something that comes up a lot for listeners, for my own clients. And I know that can be a broad thing. But tell me you're interested in this and what you've noticed with clients, why it's so important to be aware of this.
Well, I had to go through my infertility journey, had just a real strange relationship with my body during that time. I felt really betrayed by it. And it was like, having a lot of anxiety and panic. And I just really felt like separated from my body, like scared of my body. And it was kind of through my own therapy experience and tools and learning tools, and then through schooling, that I was able to learn how to befriend my body, to listen to it, to care for it. And that was really a huge step for me, is not looking at my body as an enemy or something to overcome, but something that I can for, and in turn, it's going to care for me. And so that's kind of how I got interested in like somatic work and paying attention to what it's communicating to us.
You spoke about befriending and listening to the body, not having it be the enemy. So not beating ourselves up, not hating ourselves, not talking to ourselves like we'd never talk to a friend, a child, anything like that.
Right.
Walk me through that a little bit. What do you do with clients, or even for yourself personally? If you could go back and think about that really anxious person that was always maybe overreacting or shutting down or avoiding things, escaping with tech. If you would walk us through like how it was for you and what you wish you would have known and how you could have gone back and tended to yourself and responded in a more adaptive way, a healthier way.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think for me is that your body's reacting to the same level as it feels like the threat is. And I try to normalize it. Like this, again, this is not something your body's doing to you, or it's blowing this up. It's a big deal right now, but we can learn ways to make it a little bit less of a big deal. We can learn how to be more comfortable. I think like for me, getting comfortable with discomfort was one
Yeah.
thing, not being like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. I have to stop being uncomfortable. I have to do anything I can to not be uncomfortable. And I think it was not helpful. That was not a helpful way of thinking. Instead, learning that I can handle the discomfort. My mindfulness practice has been a really huge and important thing for me in learning to sit with discomfort and just notice it, right? Like I can be a little bit more observer instead of the experiencer. So I get a little distance from that in that way. But I think just normalizing it, right? This is happening for a reason. We can work with those reasons and tone things down. Another thing I think that was really important was learning self compassion.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Kristen Neff's work has really been transformative for me. Again, not looking at myself as the enemy or like I'm doing, but like really having compassion for this difficult time that I'm going through.
Yeah.
And one of her exercises that I just really love is just the hand on heart. Such a simple act, but it's like profound. It's like really as simple of giving care to ourselves, which I don't think we do very, enough. Oh, but it's a little pause, take a moment. And this is a like a grounding, really calming one for me. And it's just really put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath. So when I close my eyes, I just take a deep breath. Then I say something kind to myself, like, okay, I'm doing the best I can,
Yeah.
or something as simple as that. And yeah, it's really powerful because of all
Mhm.
the things that are going on, right? Like if we just go, oh, I'm going to put your hand on your heart. What's that? Like a big deal. But soothing touch is huge, right? We know that calms the nervous system, engages the parasympathetic nervous system. It also releases oxytocin, which is our bonding love hormone. And we need to also be bonding and loving ourselves, not just with other people. And it helps, gosh, so much stuff like can reduce our heart rate, can, all the things that go along with the sympathetic nervous system. So, yeah. So it's a really, yeah, it's about self care, right? The affirmation or what we say to ourselves shifts us from that self critical voice to just the self care voice. That's
For
just,
sure.
yeah, it's a way to care for ourselves. And so it's a powerful one.
So I just want to reiterate some of those points you said. You said
Yeah.
get comfortable with discomfort. I know a lot of my clients, especially, are very uncomfortable with anger, females especially, it seems,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
sadness too. The whole I can handle it, like having this mindfulness practice around just observing, being curious, normalizing that. I think those are very
Mhm.
key and very important. And that self compassion, like Kristen Neff talks about different things that you can do to manage that. Really
Mhm.
important, good reminders. And I know I often in my podcast go back to stories, like with clients
Yeah.
personally or whatever. Can you share a story maybe with a client or even you, like what that looked like in real life? Like what happened, how you responded or didn't respond, or a client, and then the after effects when there was a course correction.
Well, in parenting, I work with a lot of women and a lot of their guilt or shame they carry around is like parenting, like their own dysregulation and like trying to, oh, I can't believe I yelled at my kid. That was not okay. And then they beat themselves up. And so part of that is, okay, let's pause, right? First off, not really going into like the details of what happened, but like parenting is hard, right? Like, how can we acknowledge we're not going to do it perfectly all the time? So I would say first self compassion, like we're go through a self compassion exercise, right? Hand on heart, or what would you say to a friend? They're not going to be like, you're the worst person ever. And they're going to be like, we all have moments when we're not our best, but we can learn from that. We can repair with our kid, that kind of thing. So I would say, yeah, like first, let's take care of that. Second, let's go talk about regulation. How do we stay regulated? Because we're constantly regulating, right? Everything we do is regulating. It was freezing cold in here in this office this morning. So I turned on the heater, right? So I'm regulating because I want my body to be comfortable. When I'm thirsty, I take a drink. When I'm hot, I take off my jacket or things like that. But we could do that emotionally too, right? We notice first, just, oh, I notice I'm warm. Okay, I'm going to cool down. I notice emotionally, like elevating here. Okay, what can I do to bring that down? So how can we use our thoughts? How can we calm our body?
What if they don't have that awareness though? I know some people definitely they're able to dial into that, but some of them
Yeah.
they just don't recognize that they're starting to raise their voice. They're starting to get a snotty tone or thinking of how we're responding to our kids. Like they might point it out before you even notice it. What's wrong, mom? Why are you being so rude or why are you being
Yeah.
impatient with me? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I might say they're maybe in a hurry too much. Like they need to slow things down because if they're moving too fast that they can't witness their own experience, then there's something going on there that maybe we could look at. So what are the obstacles to noticing how they're feeling and reacting? Are they too busy? Okay, can we pare down schedules? Can we lower expectations? What are some things we can do to give them that space to notice? And again, I go back to mindfulness practices that has helped me so much to be a noticer of my own experience and my environment and other people's experience. And so I would probably encourage or teach simple mindfulness practices to help them slow down.
Can you tell
Yeah.
us what that looks like more specifically, like a mindfulness practice? So is it just this thing you do in the morning? Is it just in the moment you take a minute? Tell us what that is exactly.
Mindfulness can look at it a few ways. They say it's a state, a trait, and a practice. So
Mhm.
we can be in a state of mindfulness, like I'm being aware. I'm bringing my awareness to this current moment. A trait is someone who practices a lot, can just embody that. And then a practice, like a formal practice where you can sit and practice being mindful. And so my mindfulness practice is super duper easy. And I just get into a position where I'm alert, but like relaxed. I close my eyes. I take a few deep breaths just to get that nice, just my sympathetic nervous system in charge. And then I just count my breath. So I'd be like one, and you can do in and out, like one in, two out, or just one. I like to count more because it keeps me more focused. But then that's all I do. I just do that for a few minutes. And I notice that my mind will wander because I can't clear my mind. My mind is a thinking machine. It just is always thinking. And so I don't try to clear it. I just try to focus it, right? Intentionally, purposely focus my attention. And when I notice my mind wandering, I just go, oh, I notice it, and I just bring it back, and then I start counting again. And it's a really just such a simple practice, but that foundation has grown a little bit. So, like I noticed now too, like helping with discomfort. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, my foot's going to sleep, or my sciatic, or I don't know, like something's irritating me, or I might want to scratch my shoulder, but I don't do it. It's really interesting. I just sit with it. I just notice it. Yeah. Like I notice a scratch and I just let it be there. And that for me was a huge, like, next step for me in training myself to be able to notice the discomfort and sit with it and not feel like I had to fix it or change it, make it better so that I was always comfortable. No, I can sit here with that. That's not. And then it's funny how it just goes away, just fades away. It's like the urge passes and then it's all fine.
Then question with that, Kelly, because I love how you break that down and talk about it. Simple things that we can all do. But I can
Mhm.
feel what clients would say to this or parents that I'm working with is just, what do you mean not fix it, not make it better? Then I would just be complacent or then I would just get used to not changing anything and then nothing would change and they'd start to feel anxious and be like, we can't do that. What would you say to them?
Yeah. That's a very real instinct, right? To be like, I can't scratch my shoulder. Like, why are you doing that? That's ridiculous. But I think there are a lot of things I can't control. I can't make somebody else okay. I can't make them happy, or I can't cure an illness for someone. There's a lot of things that I can't control. And so it's just a little bit of training and practice for me to be able to sit with the things that I can't.
So this is more like cognitive behavioral therapy, like managing your thoughts a little bit. Is that kind of where you're getting at with it?
Yeah, it's an experiential way to just be able to train my mind and my body to just be okay. without things having to be different. Because I think that's a lot of the work that I do with people too is around the should statements. He should be happy, or he should be grateful, or I should be this. Really expectations around ourselves and for other people. And it's should not, what should not? I don't know. I think we have to question some of those things, those
Right.
shoulds. Like,
Yeah.
really? How do you know that they should be doing this thing? Because I think we want to control the things that really get us dysregulated, right? Because that's our answer. Like for anxiety, for me specifically, and a lot of people I see, so I have anxiety. Like first, I'm going to control all the things that give me anxiety. I want to rid the world of all those things, my world of all that. But I can't do that, right? I have to shift my own experience and how I relate to that thing. And so it starts with me, right? Can I shift the way I relate to that scratch? Can I shift the way I relate to the pain in my knee? Can I shift the way I relate to someone else or my emotions or my relationships or these shoulds? Can I shift that? And this practice is, yeah, I can bear some things. And it's actually a good skill to be able to not always fighting against all the things.
I was just working with a client just barely that was saying, I'm just a perfectionist. I like things a certain way. She doesn't really lean in. She's just like pretty
Mhm.
stagnant in her life. I get really frustrated with myself if I don't. I have this allotted time to do my things. And if I don't get like 12 of them done within this hour, I say pretty terrible stuff to myself. And we all have different variations of this. Maybe it's
Mhm.
not next level terrible, but we're also like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I didn't get that done. That's the only time I have to do it. Now I have to wait till the next day, and I just
Mhm.
can't," and just starts to, like, build, and they
Mhm.
start to get more and more tense. What would you say to
Right.
something like this?
So she used the frustrated word, which always leads me to there's a hidden should in there.
Mm.
Can we surface that? So yeah, this is layered. I should be able to get all this stuff done. Should you? Is that reasonable? How much stuff is on this list, girl? Are you really going to get all that done without sacrificing a lot? In the meantime, is it going to cost you a lot to get this done? Is that worth it? So I would want to explore those shoulds. I would also say usually people who are perfectionists, in my experience, are protecting themselves from something. Like this perfection is some sort of a way to protect themselves. And I would want to dig into that and be what, how are they using it as a defense? A defense against what? And I'd want to explore that too. What would that mean to you if you can't get all that done today? What are you doing tomorrow? Is it a whole nother list of things? Are these things really important, like critical today? Maybe go through the Eisenhower matrix and be like, is this really urgent? What is the sense of urgency? Bring it back to mindfulness. Can we sit with that for a minute? Is there just some discomfort there? Can we take 2 minutes? I have this little sand timer. It's 2 minutes. Can you sit with it for 2 minutes? It's going to feel like a long time, depending how uncomfortable you are. But just sit with one of these and see what comes up there too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great advice. Uncover those hidden shoulds. What are you
Yeah.
protecting yourself from? What are those defenses? Can you sit with it for a couple minutes? And are these things really necessary? So, questions that we can ask ourselves. And I do want to shift just a little bit because I think this
Yeah.
applies to the next thing about therapy. Maybe we do need to take that next step. Maybe there's somebody else that can help us see something and we find ourselves getting stuck in these patterns and
Yeah.
how that's connected to faith because I know a lot of my clients are interested in that as well and they don't know if it does fit because it's not something that is brought up as much in typical therapy. I want to see that change. I'd love to shift to that if you're okay with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for joining us for our conversation on calming your body's stress response. If you're ready to start building habits that bring your nervous system back to peace, check out our self paced courses, blog resources, or upcoming group coaching offerings at fulfillmenttherapy.org. Don't forget to follow Fulfillment Therapy on Instagram and Facebook for daily encouragement. I'll see you back here next Monday with a new episode.